How do you be a great boss when you're your own boss? I recently shared in a video that if you work for yourself, if you're your own boss, you may need to fire your boss. Well, in this video, I'm going to take a closer look at what are those three elements that make a really amazing boss. And I'm going to invite you to be a better boss to yourself. Well, hey there, my name is Josh Freeberg, and I am a conscious business coach. What that means is that I help self employed people bring more attention and intention to their work so that they can be productive at work and present at home. I am a certified Xchange guide in conscious leadership, which means that I bring groups of people together to help release wisdom, knowledge, and intelligence at speed and scale. In this video, we're going to talk about three things that I think are so important to being a really good boss in any type of business, maybe when you are a boss to others, but become particularly true when you're self employed because you don't have that same sort of sense that um, that there's somebody else that you're accountable to, right? You're only accountable to yourself when it comes to being a boss to yourself, right? When we have that responsibility for others, I think sometimes we can bring a lot of weight to it. Or if we're an employee of somebody, we kind of know how to follow well. But when it's us who's both leading ourselves and following ourselves, it gets a little bit squishy. So let's talk about what makes a great boss and how we can implement that as someone who's self employed. Well, the first thing that I would invite you to do as you consider this is think about how a great boss provides vision and clarity on how to get the vision, right? That a great boss has shown you what the purpose of the business is, right? What good it is doing in the world, what our big why is around here, and how we set out to accomplish that. Maybe you're in a service business, and so the vision is, taking really good care of the customers and clients that you serve. Or maybe you make a really incredible product, and so your vision might be to get a certain amount of market share to help a certain number of people. And I do find that when it comes to self employed people, usually that vision is very much connected to doing good in the world, right? That they actually do well by doing good. The other thing is about vision is it's a vision for how we do things around here, right? And particularly for the person who's self-employed, it becomes a whole life vision, not just a very narrow vision of this is what I want my work to look like, right? But it's also I want my work to look like this, but I also want my home life to look like that, and I also want my personal life, maybe my hobbies. I want my connection to my community to look a certain way. So having that vision is really important, and then the clarity on how to get there. And so one of the things that we want to do if we're going to be a good boss, and we talk about this with when we're coaching our clients that have employees, right, is you have to be speaking about your vision daily. Speaking about your vision daily. In a work environment with lots of team members, we do this through a daily huddle and we talk about the values of the company. We talk about our goals, our key targets that we're trying to hit. We tell stories of how we're serving the world really well. These are all versions of that. Well, if it's just you in your office, you need to write these things out daily. And you need to speak them daily too, which means in your conversations that you have, maybe with the people you live with, your spouse, your kids, um, or just conversations you're having in the workaday world. Take the time to speak your vision because you know who hears your vision when you speak it? You do. And that's really powerful, actually, when you hear your own words. In Andy Stanley's book, Visioneering, he says, when you are sick and tired of sharing your vision, your people are just starting to get it. And that includes you. So go ahead and write and speak your vision daily. The second thing is you've got to turn your vision into weekly tasks, right? These are specific, this is where SMART goals become really valuable, that specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound goals become really valuable because these tasks are the things that are going to help us accomplish this vision or make this vision into a reality. They're the specific actions and behaviors that we can take that are going to make a difference toward achieving our vision. As we think about that, though, I want you to add one more piece, which is to celebrate achieving your lead measures. Now, we're pretty good. I think most people, I don't have to tell them to celebrate what are sometimes called lag measures. And I'm getting this language from the Four Disciplines of Execution by Sean Covey and others, where they talk about lead measures are the actions that we take to cause the result that we want, which is the lag measure. We all know to celebrate when we've got a big sale or when we achieved a big quarterly goal. I don't have to tell you to do that. Instead, what I want you to invite is that you would celebrate your lead measures. Did you get the marketing piece out? Did you make the prospecting calls? Did you study the material that you needed to learn? Did you write enough proposals? Did you make enough, new tables to take to market? Whatever that might be. Celebrate achieving your lead measures. So that's the first thing that a great boss does is they bring vision and clarity for their people. We can do this for ourselves by writing and speaking it daily, turning it into weekly tasks, and celebrating those lead measures. Let's look at the second great thing that a good boss does and that we can do for ourselves when we're self employed. That is, take control of the environment and the structure, right? A great boss creates an environment where succeeding is just a natural outflow of the physical environment. Environment wins all the time, right? If you go to someone's house and you sit down in their living room, you know what that living room was designed for. Is that the type of living room where everybody comes together to watch the football game? It has a giant TV, all the chairs are pointed to it. There's clear ways to get in and around during a raucous event. There's places to put food and beverages. The floor is, pretty indestructible so that in case there's spills, it's not a problem. That's going to be a football watching room. Very different than a room that's clearly designed for reading, right? That has really good task lighting at the comfortable chairs, that has lots of books available to it, that has a small table next to each chair where you can put a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Environment wins. And so we want to design our environment. Do you have a physical space that's really conducive for you for the type of work that you do? Do you have a space that when you walk into it, you know now's the time to work? If I walk into my living room, I know if it's time to watch football or read. If I walk in my kitchen, I know it's time to make food. And if I walk into my office or my workspace, I know that it's time to work. I got to visit a really cool local um, mill and carpentry shop. And they had just built this brand new facility and it was custom, purpose built just for what they wanted to. And in fact, they had two different alcoves for the two main people that were working there. It was a father son business. Well, the father was really into his CNC work and he had built out a shop and it was, you could see how perfectly designed it was just for him to do the work that he needed to do. The son, meanwhile, was in charge of business development and sales and marketing, and he had built an office space that was custom built for that. And you could tell as soon as you looked at it, anybody who's looking at that space said, here's a guy who is working hard on strategy, pounding the phones to make sales, and getting after business development. What does your workspace say about the kind of work that you're doing in that space? Is it custom built? If you don't like the height of your desk, change it. If you don't like the way the light's coming in, change it. If you don't like the way your screen is set up, change it. You have complete control and autonomy for your environment. And a great boss would do this for their employees, right? Would help try and take control of the physical environment so that it removed distractions and that it made it easy for them to accomplish their goals. You can do the same with your physical environment. So another piece of environment I want to invite you to as well, which is your time environment. Is there a time that you start work, that you end work, right? Is there certain rhythms or cycles of work and rest or work and breaks that allow you to work more purposefully in a more focused way? These are all elements of a really well designed environment. We also want to set a schedule, and that's what I was just talking about. Do you have a start time? And do you have a routine around how you start? Do you have a routine around how you end? Right? These can be really powerful, um, because we are creatures of habit and we are creatures of rhythm, right? We have a rhythm of, a weekly rhythm of work and rest. I hope you do. And we could talk about it if you don't. I'd be happy to share that, have that conversation. I've helped lots of people begin to take 1 day a week off and eventually 2 days a week off, some even 3 or 3.5 days a week off. Do you have a weekly rhythm? Do you have a daily rhythm? Do you even have an intraday rhythm, like a different rhythm for different parts of your day? Set a schedule. This is what a good boss does. That's why you have to be at work on time. It's why you stay till the closing bell or stay till certain tasks are completed. Because this is how a great boss helps their employees achieve the goals so that it helps the employees have the life and lifestyle that they want. Can't we do the same wonderful service for ourselves when you're self-employed? And the last thing is, and this is the coolest part about being self-employed, is set up an environment and a structure that match you, that fit your personality, so that you're spending 70-80% of your time doing things you love doing, things that give you energy, don't rob you of energy, right? Make sure that if you're going to be spending all this time doing this work you love doing, that it fills you up. Also, and by the way, this is also about how to live a better like home life. When you spend the day doing work that is fulfilling to you, that's meaningful for you, and that gives you energy, when you go home, you're a better version of yourself. You're more fulfilled, you're more engaged, you're more present for your family. Now, are there going to be parts of your job that you don't like doing? Of course. Of course. So you got a couple options here. One, grow up and do them fast, right? Instead of spending 5 hours not doing it so that you can eventually get around to spending 2 hours doing it, just knock it out first thing and you'll probably finish in a half an hour. But instead, we spend so much time not wanting to do the thing we don't want to do, we never get around to it, right? And we actually spend more energy not doing it than we spent doing it. It's like the little kid that you say, if you spent as much time cleaning your room as you have whining about cleaning your room, it'd be clean by now. Well, we say that to a little kid with so much ego, and yet forget that we're doing the same thing around some of our work tasks. Knock those out as fast as you can. The second thing is outsource it, right? Is this something that you can contract to somebody else? Is this something you can hire out to somebody else? This is a great way to get rid of those tasks we don't love doing, do the tasks that we do love doing, that we're really good at, and that make the most movement toward our vision for our company. So, the second thing that we can do if we want to be a great boss for ourselves is to create an environment and a structure that really support what it is we're trying to accomplish. And the last thing that a great boss does is they advocate and they cheerlead. Now, this is a little bit challenging to do for ourselves. I've talked about this before. Every one of us has like a negativity bias. That is, we tend to outsize the things that are not going well. We tend to ignore or move the goalposts on things that are going well. But what a great boss does is they advocate for their people and they cheerlead. How do we do this when we're self-employed? The first thing is choose your clients or choose your work, right? A good boss would say, "Hey, employee, what are you spending your time on?" And they would say what they're doing, and the boss would be like, "Well, stop doing that. That's more of a distraction. Oh, don't work with that client. They're not your ideal client. I want you working with this group of people." choose your clients and the work that you choose to take on in a way that is advantageous for the business, that is really in line with your values and personality, who you want to work with, who you like making a difference for. When you do this, you're advocating for yourself, you're protecting yourself by setting boundaries that will allow you to do incredible work for the right client rather than mediocre work for the wrong client. Uh, Next, eliminate energy drains. Look for the areas in your day. And one of the great ways to do this is to keep a time journal. Do this for like 2 or 3 days. Keep a time journal every couple hours. Stop, look back at everything you've done and jot it down. And then go back through when you audit it and say, just put pluses and minuses. What gave you energy? What took energy away? What gave you energy? What took energy away? And begin to look at those things that take energy away, and we want to reduce the amount of time we spend on those things that give us energy. We want to spend more time on. Now, I'm not saying these things are going to be, that the things that give you energy aren't hard or challenging. They often are, but they're the kind of challenge that you like to rise to the occasion versus the kind of challenge that's just a drag. And so look for those energy drains and eliminate those. And the last one is a little funny, but it's find yourself a cheerleader. That's what the song talked about, right? Find yourself a cheerleader. Now, this can look like a couple different things. One, you cheerlead yourself, although that I find that sometimes only goes so far. But also reach out to fellow business owners, start a mastermind, join a mastermind, right? Join a community of other people who are doing what you're doing where you can encourage one another. Or I also think this is a really good place for a business coach. I find that a lot of times in my business coaching, a big part of what I'm doing is cheerleading people, is saying, hey, you're doing a great job. And there's this other thing I talked about, that we have a tendency to move the goalpost. So we accomplish a goal, and great business owners, I see them do this all the time. As soon as they achieve a goal, they're like, well, yeah, that's okay, but what's next? Right? Oh, I did all right, but I could have done better. And I am always telling people, no, 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 no. We're actually going to stop and we're going to notice that you won. We're going to notice that you achieved your goal. And when you stop and you notice that you achieved your goal, you can actually take some pride in that. You can also learn from it. If you ignore the achievement of something you were working really hard at and move on to the next thing, you don't actually learn from it, right? Learning comes from reflecting on an experience. So if you set a goal to launch a new product, if you set a goal to get a certain level of revenue, if you set a goal to serve a certain number of customers or patients or clients, and you do it, well, then pause and celebrate that, and then take a moment to learn from it. What did you do well that made a big difference? Well, these are the three ways that we can be a great boss to ourselves, to give that vision and clarity to ourselves, to create an environment and structure that helps us win, and then to advocate and cheerlead for ourselves. Now, if we don't have the ability to cheerlead for ourselves, we need to go outside ourselves, join a community, hire a coach, get a buddy that you can collaborate with, if for no other reason than to cheerlead for one another, to say, you're doing great, you've got this, keep going. I think these are the great ways that that someone who's a boss to themselves can up level their business. Hey, if you would like more to see more content about how to be really great at being self-employed, I would invite you to make a comment below about where you need help being a great boss. I'd invite you to subscribe to this channel and like this video. Of course, you know that helps. Because these videos are all about helping you be more productive at work and more present at home.